Jason is introducing Chris Starkey, but you can't hear Jason at the moment.
Oh, yes. He's talking about you right now, Chris.
Yeah.
So, well, the other reason why he's here, because he needed to test out all the equipment, because we're going to be doing a Facebook Live on election night, and we're having an election night show.
4 hours, yes.
To cover the election results as they come in. I know. Really? I have to work the next day. I know.
I have to work the next day,
and so
too.
does Tom. And you get up at like 4.
I don't have
and
to
I get up
work.
at 5.
Yes.
Yes. I haven't read the article yet.
Project.
I gotta look that up. So I guess you deserve a couple weeks off.
Well, I gotta sit over here and start barking, or what?
Marysville and Yuba City are like brother and sister. That's just the way it is.
Would that be
Right.
Big Brother?
Yes.
Well, I'll say from a law enforcement standpoint, it's one area. I mean, the river divides the county. We deal with the same people, time in and daily. So, absolutely.
Okay, be that way. So Wendell, we want to give you the opportunity to kind of have the floor for a little bit and give us an intro and give us your spiel. This is your last shot,
Sure.
I think, before Election Day.
No, I appreciate you having me on
Yeah.
very much. And I, like I said before, I don't like talking about myself too much. I'll throw it to you guys to ask some questions or have some discussion once I do that. I'm a lifelong resident of Yuba County. I grew up not far from this radio station and lived there for all my life, up until I was a teenager. And got married to a born and bred Yuba County resident as well, and we raised our kids here. I've been with the Sheriff's Department for over 20 years, about 21 years, and I've worked, every beat that we have. I've worked patrol beats out here. I worked as a CSO. I started as a reserve, and I was promoted up through the ranks to a sergeant, to a lieutenant, and I'm currently in charge of the investigations unit. And with that promotion, the last promotion I had a couple of years ago, it was an eye-opener, and just seeing the budgetary issues, the personnel matters that I just didn't get to deal with as a sergeant and as a deputy. So like I said, it was an eye-opener. There's a lot of intricacies involved in the Sheriff's Department that you just don't get a grasp on until you're at the administrative level. So being at that level, working hand in hand with the current sheriff and the administrative staff gives me a true appreciation for what they've done. Other than that, I'm open for questions. I'm here to talk and address some issues that anybody may have.
Can we get Jason's attention real quick? We hear a radio in the background. What's up with that? Okay. Yeah, it was very distracting.
Were you listening to a different station in there?
You're in there listening to MSNBC?
Hey. You've been showed the door once.
Call the enforcer.
No, I'm just saying.
No, that's your chance. That's one. That's one.
Careful, somebody's going to have to go in there and take your spot. If you
Yeah.
That's okay. We got Chris Starkey here, and I think he's got some background in radio, so You probably ought to behave today, because today we would have a replacement.
So Wendell, what is a CSO? You said you were a CSO.
So a CSO is a community service officer. They're unarmed. It's not a peace officer position. It's actually a valuable position for us. They go out in the community. They can do a lot of different things, from heading up community watch groups to just crime scene investigation, handling calls. And normally the CSOs handle those calls when there's no suspects involved. So cold calls, they'll go and handle those. So community service officer, we have about 6 of them now in our department, and they handle various positions from CCW interviews to handling crime reports.
So usually that's older people from the community, or what?
No. So that's actually
retirees, or-
no. That's a starting position, and I think you're referring to the stars. So a community service officer is actually a paid position within the sheriff's department. It's a full-time salaried position that we've had there for years, and it's invaluable to our department. They like I said, they fill in so many different roles for us, and it's a non-sworn peace officer position. So there's some cost savings associated to that, but like I said, do our corners follow up, our neighborhood watch groups, responding to calls for service, our CCWs. They do backgrounds for our STARS volunteers, which I think is what you're referring to.
Yeah, can you elaborate on the STARS program a little bit?
Yeah, so the STARS program is actually, a lot of people have a misconception that it's retired citizens that are doing it, but in actuality, it's anybody who wants to volunteer. You come, there is a background process. We have to do that because there's access to our CLETs, to the computer crime database, so you have to go through a background check. And again, they're volunteers for us, and invaluable. We couldn't function without our STARS. They are everything from our vehicle maintenance program to designing computer software for our computer system, for our database.
So what do you think Yuba County has STARS? How many people?
I don't have the roster. I should know this. I would say that it's, right now, I'm just guessing. I mean, the active ones that I see from, is probably 15 or 20.
Yeah.
Now, the animal control is also run by many stars, I believe.
Animal control, yeah, they have the STARS volunteer that come out and just help with the day-to-day operations of the animal control office, from cleaning the kennels to doing the paperwork. We have a couple stars out there, the Hansons, and they're just the backbone. They work so hard for us and provide a great service to our whole community, and they do it for free.
So switching gears to the budget, you say you're just getting your feet wet in the budget process and stuff. Now, I know Yuba County just built a new sheriff's facility, and was that, how did that money come about? Is that out of the county's normal budget, or how did that take place? Do you know?
Well, I know a little bit. Now, this process started over 10 years ago with the purchase of that building, and the money for the sheriff's department was actually for improvements. It's brick and mortar money. That's the only thing that it could be used for. It couldn't be used for our budget. It couldn't be used for salaries. It couldn't be used for equipment. It had to be used for building, for improving, for brick and mortar things, just the construction.
Is that like the gas tax that we got now is only being used to fix the roads?
You guys probably know more about that than I do. My road to my house isn't much better than it used to be.
Yeah.
Right now, the current budget, and give or take a little bit, around $26 million. And that's including, there's 7 components to our budget, yes. No, so the ICE revenue, the anticipated revenue for this year is about $6.5 million. And so that revenue goes straight to the sheriff's department. And so the rest of that money comes from the general fund, along with some grants, some state monies, and right. Yeah, and we get, like I said, we get some money through the state, through AB 109. We get money for some, small counties a rural county grant that we get annually. So there's some monies that come from the state, there's some that come from the federal government, but for the most part, the majority of our budget comes from the ICE revenue and from the general fund. Sure. Well, yeah. So that we get the money from ICE, and that goes straight to public safety.
Okay, but
Sheriff's
ICE
Department.
is federally funded, right?
Correct.
So when you get federal money, are they coming in there trying to lay down the law to you and tell you what you're gonna do?
You know, they do have some requirements that are more stringent than the ones that we have through the state, and I know that it creates some issues for our staff. That we have to handle those inmates a little differently than we handle the other inmates. ICE is they're in our building pretty frequently. They come and they do inspections, so we have to meet some criteria that ICE has for us in order to receive the money from that contract.
So are they living a higher standard of living in there? I mean, is it 5-star or you know what I mean? No, well, I just want to be prepared if I end up there, huh?
No, so there's not a higher standard of living, so to speak. Some of them are housed with our local residents. It's just there's some stipulations of things that we have to do, and I'll be the first to tell you that my first priority is to learn more about the jail, because I can't talk in specifics about things that happen day to day in the jail. I've never worked in the jail, so if I'm elected, that's going to be my first thing, is going in there and working side by side with those guys, because how can I tell somebody how to do their job if I don't know what their job consists of? So I just know that there's a lot of concerns and complaints over how we're handling those ICE inmates as opposed to our inmates, and that we can't use tasers on them, just things like that. That's mandated by ICE, that we can't do those sorts of things. Not that it creates issues for me right now, but our jail staff, it certainly does, and I want to go in there and see if how can we be more effective in the jail in regards to the ICE contract. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know if we need ICE more or they need us more. I mean, they need us as well as we need them, so there may be some give and take.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about your opponent? Does he have time in the jail? Do you know?
Yeah, I think he may have worked in the jail when he first started, although I don't know for sure.
I'm just curious on that. Hey, I want to know who got this chair for me, man. I feel like I'm ready to go through the windshield.
Is this an ejection seat?
Wendell, let me ask you a question about how you feel things are in the sheriff department between. Do you feel like it's a good old boys club like we've been told it is, or is it just a deep brotherhood?
I'm so tired of hearing the good old boys club. I can't tell you. No, we try to foster good relationships within the sheriff's department, and I think the good old boys club is something that I'm not privy to. I'll tell you that the people that I'm close with at the sheriff's department are like-minded like me, and that we go to our annual Christmas party, we go to our barbecues, we try to foster those relationships, and try to create a family atmosphere for our deputies. The Good Old Boys Club, I've heard that, especially over the last few weeks, time and time again from certain people, and now that, to me, it's ludicrous. The Good Old Boys Club, if you want to call the good old boys the ones that work hard and dedicate themselves to the community, then I guess I'm a good old boy, but I genuinely care about this department, I care about the community, and if that makes me a good old boy, I'll wear that proudly.
Well, when I was told that, it kind of struck me as a little odd, because I've never heard anything negative about the Yuba County Sheriff. I've heard nothing but good things about Sheriff Durfer, and I've got a brother that's been in law enforcement for over 30 years, and I talked to him about it, and he said that a brotherhood as tight as you guys can become gets misinterpreted as a good old boys club.
Well, that could be, and like I said, I try to go to every event that we have at the Sheriff's Department, whether it be a retirement ceremony, an award ceremony, a swearing in, and, the people that are calling it a good old boys club aren't there. So, I think that, that's a term that was used pretty recently. To me, it's a campaign ploy, and it's something that is being used, and to me, it's just untrue and
Well, I feel like if you
ridiculous.
depend on each other to stay alive,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
better be pretty tight.
Sure, and, and I'm not saying that we don't have some work to do. We need to improve our morale, but then that's how we're going to do it, is by being tight knit, by having family involved in our barbecues, whatever it may be. But yeah, as far as being a good old boys club, yeah, it's that's ridiculous.
Oh,
We
Well,
didn't
I think that
understand.
was an ambush that didn't work.
Yeah.
So, right. The only thing that I'll say is that, over the course of the years, we've had good working relationships with every agency within the county. But that's got to come from both sides. The department's heads have to be able to communicate, because we're all here for a common goal, to protect and serve the citizens of this county. And if there's a department head that can't work with anybody else, maybe there needs to be a change there, because a lot of times it's always somebody pointing their finger saying, you guys, you guys, you guys. Maybe they need to look in the mirror at themselves. Right, sure. Well, and the timing of it, I think, was bad, because it was campaign time, but that was a request that was made through their agency from one of their firefighters, and I set it up. I wasn't going to be there. I wasn't going to go to the training. I set them up with our subject expert on that, that they wanted training on, and all I did was, get them to trade emails, and yeah, it's unfortunate that it was canceled. Yeah, I've got no problem talking about it, but there are more important and better things to talk about than that.
I got a question on the Fourth Amendment. It
Uh-oh,
says,
he's got his Constitution out, people.
the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Okay? It says, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the person or things to be seized. So in light of this Fourth Amendment, what is your thoughts on these DUI checkpoints, and does the Yuba County Sheriff's Department get involved in DUI checkpoints? Are they fishing expeditions?
Well, I don't know if they're fishing expeditions. They're certainly, they're broadcast in advance. So, I don't think they're fishing expeditions. I think it's to keep the public safe from those who drink and drive. And if you're going to drink and drive, maybe read the paper, because they're announced ahead of time where they're going to be. So, and as far as us being involved, we haven't been involved with them recently. We have in the past with the Avoid the Nine, which is a grant that was offered. It was run through Marysville PD, and we were asked to participate in those from time to time, but we haven't done that in a while. So currently, we're not involved with those checkpoints. I don't think it's a fishing expedition. Like I said, I think it's it's case law, I know you're talking about the Constitution, but I'm going to case law, which is California case law that, you know, we're subject to. As law enforcement agents in California, you know, that's how our policies are written, that's how, you know, our training is done, and our penal code is written based off of case law. So case law said it's legal, and you know, I support checkpoints. I support them. You know, they give them outs, you know, they're fishing expeditions. If it's a fishing trap, you know, we have, according to case law, we have to give them exits. You know, if you don't want to go through that checkpoint, you have a right to turn and leave it.
And so if a person exits, are they gonna be followed? I mean,
No,
that's a good question, right?
No, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're talking more in the realm of the California Highway Patrol and the city cops and the sheriff. I have been involved with those over the course of my career, but not in quite a while. But no, I don't think, you know, unless that person is exhibiting signs of being under the influence, that they're gonna be followed.
Yeah. So personally, I don't drink, so I don't have a dog in the fight, so to say. But, you know, I'm just curious about checkpoints for DUI. Then what's the next checkpoint? You know what I mean? Are we going to have just driver license checkpoints? Then are we going to have immigration checkpoints inside the city, or you know, or are we going to graduate to where are you going tonight checkpoint? You know.
Well, with our
You
legislation in
understand what I'm
California, you
saying?
never know what's gonna happen. Yeah, no, I understand. You know, I don't know, we can all say what if, but, as of right now, you know, it's checkpoints for alcohol, intoxicated drivers, and, you know, if you come to the checkpoint and you don't exhibit any signs of being under the influence of alcohol or marijuana or anything else, then you're sent on your way and you were inconvenienced for a couple of minutes, but could have saved somebody's life too.
So you mentioned legislation in California. There's a lot of legislation in California regarding weapons that is not clear to me, because the Constitution is very clear when the statement says shall not be infringed. And I asked Tanya the same question. That's pretty clear to you, isn't it? Shall not be infringed?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I think that, personally speaking, my humble opinion is that the California laws regarding firearms, ammunition is, you know, too restrictive. And, you know, I'm an avid outdoorsman. I like to hunt, I like to fish, I like to shoot. And, you know, I don't think that anyone should tell me what caliber of gun I want to shoot or what type of gun that I want to shoot. Now, believe me, I don't think that we need rocket launchers. I don't think every citizen needs a 50 caliber machine gun. I fear, you know, extremists from both sides. To be honest with you, I think, you know, being in the middle somewhere, you know, is the answer. Like I said, I've never owned an automatic weapon in my life. I don't have a silencer. I don't have a need for one. But I think the laws in California, and certainly some of the proposed laws, are, you know, absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you're
Tyrannical.
in the room with people who definitely are not in the middle.
Okay? I'm gonna stay in my stance, okay?
If I want a tank, I want to be able to go get a tank.
You don't have a tank?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let's say tomorrow, well, let's say after you become sheriff.
Sure.
After the election, when you're sheriff and the state of California, Gavin Newsom gets in there and he says, okay, every county, we're going to go out and we're going to collect all your guns. So sheriffs, go out and go collect the guns. How would you respond to that?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. That's an extreme situation. I mean, we're talking revolution, civil war, whatever it may be. If it got to that point, that's my opinion. And I'm not going to give up my guns, and I'm not going to force my constituents to give up their guns. And you know, if a law came down like that, you know, I would have to defend the Constitution and the citizens of my county.
We'll be standing on the county line with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I feel that you know, especially people here in the North State, and you know, citizens all the way across the state, you know, they believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Second Amendment of the Constitution, and if that law were to come down, I fully believe that we would be in for, you know, a civil war, a revolution, whatever you wanna call it, and, you know, it would be,
Bad.
yeah, it would be bad.
So you mentioned court precedents, okay? And that's how law is created in California. Really, that's a sad state of affairs to me to hear that. So with this being the supreme law of the land and court precedents and laws that are being made violate this, where do you land? Because that's what we want to know. That's what everybody wants to know.
Sure.
That's what all our friends want to know.
Well, you know the Constitution very well. You know that it allows for states to create their laws, you know, as long as they're not in conflict with the Constitution. So that's what we got to watch, right? The 10th Amendment, you know, is what we really have to keep our eye on and make sure that the state of California, not that I believe that they're doing it now with the sanctuary city, that they're violating the Constitution. That's just my opinion. So that's where we have to put our eye to, is watch the 10th Amendment, watch the state laws, and make sure they're not in conflict with the U.S. Constitution. Where they are in conflict with the U.S. Constitution, as you said, the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, so I think we need to adhere to it. Now, there are people that are paid much more money in much higher places that make those decisions, but ultimately, when it comes down to, you know, enforcement of those laws, you know, that as a sheriff, you know, you're the law enforcement officer.
You're the
and
chief law enforcement
You're
officer.
the elected,
officer,
yes,
so-
you're the choice of the people.
And banning high-capacity magazines and making us register, I guess you have to register your bullets now, or if you buy them,
You know,
that is not constitutional.
that is not constitutional, and it's being challenged right now as well. So, you know, I think that hopefully they'll get it right at some point. I know the state legislation, they're gonna keep trying, every year when we have a legislative, legislation's going before our voters, that they're gonna try, they're gonna keep trying. So we gotta stay educated, we gotta watch, you know, that like I said, the 10th Amendment, and make sure that our rights aren't being infringed upon.
Well, there's more coming, because
I
Dianne
know.
Feinstein and Newsom have
Well-
said right there on the television, said that's one of their main objectives is to take what they call assault rifle. I don't understand that term.
There's no such thing
Yeah.
as an assault rifle.
But I always thought it stood for Armalite rifles.
Assault is a verb, an action word. I don't know any rifle that creates its own action. Yeah. So we like hearing you mention the 10th Amendment, okay? And we're believers in the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment, I'll just read it, happen to have it right here. It says, "The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people." And we like that, but we like Article 9 even better, okay? And it says, "The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people." So to clarify that, for sure, not every right that the people have could have been written in the Constitution.
Sure.
Okay? And this is declaring that if we failed to mention your right, you have it, and it is retained by the people. So this room and most of our friends are people that believe in these God-given inalienable rights. So, and when it comes to court precedents, taking a precedent over our God-given rights, you know where we're going to fall.
Sure.
How will you fall?
Well, being the sheriff, we swear to the Constitution of the California and the U.S. Constitution, and I think the way that our state laws are written right now, I mean, obviously, anything that's enumerated they're not enumerated to the Constitution, the state has leeway on, right? So they can enact and enforce their laws. So that's a pretty wide spectrum that we have to deal with.
Yeah, they can't be contrary to the U.S. Constitution.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
And every infringement on our Second Amendment
Sure.
is contrary to our.
Sure.
Yes,
No,
yes.
well, I agree with you, and the two different issues though. You're talking about, case law. I brought it up earlier, and that, case law stems from California law, but also from federal law, the law of the land as well.
Well,
so.
the conflict there is that the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, also says all legislative power resides with the Congress. All legislative power, and that's the lawmaking power. So there are no other agencies or government ABCs, DF agencies that can make law. There is no the judicial branch of the government cannot make law. These case laws are just opinions about the cases presented to a judge, and they only apply to the people involved in that case.
Well,
That's
you're,
right.
you're right, but they also involved us due to litigation. If we violate case law, that gets us sued. So if I get sued as a sheriff of this county, I'm doing the citizens a disservice. Now I'm saying there's a balancing act that we have to do, but I'm not going to go and blatantly violate case law that's already been decided time and time again. To put my county at risk, in peril of a lawsuit that's going to cost millions of dollars. So I think we need to balance the two, which we've been doing for a long time. There are some laws that come down that, the Second Amendment violations, those are big ones, and those are ones that, I'm not a legislator, so I
Will you stand with the person, or if there's a conflict between a person's God-given inalienable rights and case law and state law, as a county sheriff, your job is to interpose for the people. Will you stand with the people?
Absolutely. And you know what? Case law changes daily too. So I mean, it just, these are hard questions because there's so many different circumstances surrounding each one of them. It's almost impossible to say, yeah, I would do this and do that, because it depends, right? It always depends on the circumstances. It always depends on the law. That's, you know what? I appreciate good conversation.
And
but
when you get your Bill of Rights deep down in your soul, then you'll know what you have to do as a man.
Sure. Well, it just comes down to doing the right thing. Whether you're a religious person, religion, doing the right thing to me is the same thing. I've always believed in doing the right thing. I believe in, treating people with respect. I believe in treating people fairly, and I've always, over the course of my career, I believe that's why I've been successful, because I've always treated people with respect, and I've always been fair, whether it be with the law or the circumstances. The question that came up at your guys' meeting was the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law, and I believe deeply in the spirit of the law. I think the letter of the law, is, it's black and white, but the intentions behind those laws are what we need to focus on as law enforcement peace officers. How's that?
I like that a lot.
It is important.
Well, it has been. We started at 5 after. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Okay, then we should have Wendell, you can take the floor and whatever we didn't touch on that you want us to know about.
No, I think just the election's coming up in 2 days. Just be informed. Don't take the good old boys thing, for example, is just one of those things that that's being used as a campaign tool. If you want somebody who's dedicated, who's hardworking, committed to the sheriff's department, committed to the communities in this county of Yuba, the U.S. Constitution as well, vote for Wendell Anderson. I've got the background, I've got the relationships within the community, with other law enforcement agencies, to move on from where Sheriff Turfer has taken us and improve. There are a lot of things that we can improve on. There are a lot of things that I can do to benefit the citizens of Yuba County. We need to get back to community policing. We need to get back to having neighborhood watch groups, having people in our community who are vested in our sheriff's department and their sheriff's department, because that's what it is. It's their sheriff's department. No one's going to work harder And, you know, no one's gonna care more for this county than I have. I've devoted my life to this county. I've lived here my entire life. I've raised my kids here. And, you know, I truly feel that I care for this county, and I'm gonna do what's best for it. So, leaves you 3 more minutes for a question. I'm done.
I just wanted to ask you, what really made you want to go after this job? Were you pushed into it, kind of? Did you just want to from?
Well, I wouldn't say I was pushed into it. So over the course of my career, I mean, I've always been a leader within the department, even when I was a deputy. And, you know, it's not because I, you know, demanded to be a leader. You know, it's just, I've tried to lead by setting the example for people and working hard, being dedicated. And, you know, the last several years of my career, I had a lot of my peers, a lot of my subordinates who have approached me, and, you know, knowing that Sheriff Durford was going to be retiring, and asked me, you know, that if I had thought about running for sheriff. And to me, it wasn't so much as being forced. It was a matter of I feel like we have some big shoes to fill, and I think I can do it. I think that I'm the person to do it. I think the men and women of the Sheriff's Department will follow me, and it's not something that I've aspired to do.
That's important.
It is. It's important to have, you know, to have the following, you know, to have a shared common goal with the people that I work with, and that, I think, more than anything, has prompted me. You know, it's pretty humbling. It's been a humbling experience. I've gotten a lot of support from my peers, from my subordinates, and my supervisors. You know, and I think it was more of, you know, if I'm not going to do it, who's going to do it? So.
Well, I think we're in good shape with you and Brandon Barnes as our 2 sheriffs.
Yes. Yep. For over 20 years. Sure. You know what? Absolutely. I mean, you know, the working relationship between Brandon and I would be, you know, as strong as any. And
I got a question. Are you going to continue, or because we're tired of hearing the public agencies, okay, cry for more money. So how are you going to handle it? I mean.
You asked me about if I support a tax or not. Is that what you're?
Well, I mean, don't you think we're?
That's where he's going.
That's where he's going.
Yeah, well, we don't want any more. We don't want to be taxed to death. We're already taxed to death.
I'm going to tell you, I'm right there with you. I get the same stuff taken out of my check, and you know, anytime as a voter in California for the past umpteen years, the last thing that I want to do is pay more taxes. Usually, when I see a bill that has taxes imposed on the citizens, you know, I'm opposed to it. Now, do I support the tax? I don't know enough about it yet. I still need to learn more about it. I'm to the point, because I'm a citizen of Yuba County as well, and I pay my taxes here as well, and nobody can raise our taxes, okay? It has to be voted on. So, I mean, I think it's, you know, it's about priority for everybody personally, you know, how they feel. But, you know, I don't know what the budget's going to hold for the next several years for Yuba County. It's pretty daunting. I mean, looking at the budget, just because of the tax base that we have, the revenue that we have in the county, is challenging. So I don't know if I support the tax or not yet, but I'm going to learn as much as I can about it and look at every option that we have, try to, you know, save as much money as I can in within the department in every position that we have. And, you know, so I don't know yet if I support it or not.
I'll end with this for me anyway. I support a tax to help generate more income for me personally in my business. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and, you know, we can have more discussion if you want when the radio's off, or some other time. You know.
Excellent.
No, not at all. Absolutely. I give you my cell phone number. You already have my cell phone number, so you can call me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Positions in law enforcement.
This is former Yuba County Sheriff Gary Tyndall. In my 40-year career in law enforcement, all three of the candidates for sheriff have served under my command. I can honestly say that Jeff Pierce is the best and most qualified to be the next Sutter County Sheriff.
I agree. This is former Sutter County Sheriff Jim Denny. Without question, Jeff Pierce is the right choice for sheriff. Jeff has the experience needed to run the sheriff's office, tackle homeless problems, defend Second Amendment rights, and keep our families safe.
This is Sutter County Under Sheriff Jeff Pierce. I am honored by the support of retired sheriffs Gary Tyndall and Jim Denny. I am also proud to have earned the support of our Sheriff Paul Parker, Sacramento Sheriff Scott Jones, former Sutter Sheriff Art Bramwood, radio host and former Sheriff John McGinnis, and retired CHP Commissioner Maury Hannigan. More importantly, I am asking for your support because as sheriff, I will work for you.
Paid for by Pierce for County Sheriff 2018.
Candidate for Sutter County Sheriff. I've been the target of numerous false allegations and online bullying by supporters of one of my opponent's campaigns. One of these more recent allegations was that I had a home foreclosure. While I sympathize with anyone who has had to go through a home foreclosure, it's just not true. If you see something online, don't repost it, don't retweet it, don't believe it. If any of my support...
All right, and we are back. Wendell just left, and we played our ads from all three of the sheriff candidates over in our neck of the woods in Sutter County. The first one was Brandon Barnes, my hope and prayer for sheriff. Then Jeff Pierce, which I wouldn't mind either.
My hope and prayer for sheriff.
So I like.
And Tom left the room, his too.
I like Jeff. I really, really like Jeff, but I really like Brandon Barnes more. And then we got our runner-up, Dennis Houck, my opinion. And I promised that I would make we made that ad, by the way. We took it off his, whatever he put up on Facebook of him saying he's been online bullied and all that good stuff. And I promised last week that I would make him a runner-up trophy. And I'm a man of my word. Whenever I say I'm going to do something, you can bet I go do it. So I present you all with the Dennis Houck trophy that we'll present to him later on.
It says third place at the bottom in case you can't see it. It says third place at the bottom.
You need to move forward, Tammy. Or move back.
Back.
There you go. That'll give him a clean shot.
Can you zoom in on it?
So, anyways, and we're joined by Chris Starkey from One Eye Blind Media, who came up with this wild idea to get us out there and get us our picture out there on Facebook and get us a Facebook Live. How's everything working, Chris? Can they actually hear me now, or am I still just the silent man?
Yes, you can hear?
Oh, yeah, okay. I got a big thumbs up from Chris over there in the corner, so I guess you all can hear me now.
You can speak.
Can you see him? Can you see him in the booth? I mean, through your Facebook.
Yeah, we can actually see him a little bit behind the signs.
Woo!
We don't wash that window on purpose.
Hey, that's why I don't do TV, man.
You have a face for radio.
Yeah, exactly. And it's even worse. You guys don't even want to look at me. Put me back here in this little room. So
Well, that's kind of, sometimes you bounce off those padded walls in there.
climbing the walls.
So if you folks who are normally seeing these lives are used to or hate seeing my face, just think about this. They did us all a favor and put Jason in the other room.
Yes. Roger that. So, anyways, we just had Wendell Anderson on. I really liked Wendell. I liked what he had to say. I wasn't too keen on where he was going with the case law stuff.
But here's the thing, and this is what I told him when he left, is he was very grateful that he had the opportunity to come talk to us, and he wanted to make sure that we were, on board with what he had to say, and if we had any more questions. And I did tell him, I said, what it expressed to us is you're very open to dialogue, to discussion, and I feel comfortable enough now to where I can go have a further discussion with him, and he's open to it. He's reasonable. because, you know, he wasn't as, I don't think anybody's where we are with the Constitution.
No, but they should be.
As long as he's open to getting there, we can work with that.
Well,
He's got the right mindset.
You know, remember we had Brandon Barnes and Jeff Pierce. Go Jeff.
Go Barnes.
They both came to our Constitution class, and they both were very happy that they did. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just that's positive.
And-
And I think Wendell is open to it. The truth is, most people have not taken the time to crack it open.
Well, and you know, it's still the primary, and I believe if Wendell doesn't get 50% plus one, or Ting doesn't get 50% plus one, they still have to run a full another campaign. Am I correct?
I'm not sure.
I think they
but
do.
to have an exact tie out of two candidates is going to be hard to do.
Oh yeah, I get. Okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
for them-
it's
Well,
not like
the way
Southern
it worked in my mind.
So I think this is over for them after this.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
would think so.
Darn it.
Oh, there was a point I was going to make. So you guys have taken my class twice now. Well, the first time you took it, I didn't teach it. But
No, but
you're going through it again now, well, in the class I'm teaching. And what I hear in my class all the time is, how are they getting away with that? Why don't they know this? How does this happen? Well, one of the statements he said is why it happened. He was explaining that, you know, there's this case law, and, you know, the county could get sued, and I have to look out for my constituents, and I don't want to, you know, the county to be sued. We understand that, but that's why we're out there trying to educate the people on what's in the Constitution, because it's been forgotten. Because we want those boots on the ground to be able to stand behind our sheriff and encourage him to also know the same document and to know what his parameters of operation are, and to be on board when he might do something that could potentially lead to some lawsuit.
Right. His job, he's not elected to preserve and protect the county.
No, but you know,
He's elected to preserve and protect the
people.
rights, the God-given inalienable rights of the people.
yes, but if
And
the
I
think
county,
that's-
but if the county is constantly getting sued, we're going to go after him just like we went after Amanda Hopper.
Yep.
What he said made a lot of sense to me.
Right.
I honestly could see where he was coming from with trying to keep the county out of trouble.
So do
now
we.
it's a fine line, but I could see where he's
Yeah,
coming
and
from
I
too.
don't
I think he made a
disagree
good
with
point.
that. It's a very good point. My point is that's why we're teaching the Constitution.
Right. Yeah.
More people have to know about it to understand, you know, the whole realm of operation there.
Well, that's kind of why I was hoping he was going to have to run with Ting again. Maybe we should just make him wait. We're the people, right? And you know,
Just tell him they
because
can't.
I would like to offer up a Constitution class for him.
It's not going to be that easy.
And I think he's talking about the county as his constituents. I
Exactly.
mean,
I actually really liked what he had to say.
I did too. I really like the
I would
man.
vote. I would vote for him before I would vote for Ting. I mean, I like Ting, but this
It's
guy
not
sold
Ting,
me.
it's Tang.
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 Okay. Sorry.
It's not Tang, it's Ting.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Whatever the other guy was, I would vote for
How about
Wendell.
Mr. Seychow?
Yes, Mr. Seychow. I would vote for Wendell right now. I liked his what he had to say. I really liked it. I mean, it sounded good, and I think he's a true shooter. He sat there and looked me eye to eye, and I just felt comfortable with him, kind of like I do with Brandon.
For me, I say the jury's still out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it won't be here for two more
Yes.
days.
I mean, if I was going to vote in Yuba County, which I'm not, but so I would have liked to have heard a little more from.
you're not going to vote in Yuba County?
Oh yeah, when I'm done in Sutter County, I'm going to run over to Yuba.
over there.
Yeah.
Well,
I think they're having a bus for that.
somebody said they'd put you on a bus and put you over here.
Well, you asked me at the last show if my mind was made up after
Yes.
Tang was there.
It
My
is
mind
now.
now is made up.
Yep.
Wendell Anderson seems like a absolute stand-up man.
And believe it or not, Randy does have a dog in this fight
Yes,
and
I
will
do.
get to vote. So there you go. There you have it. That's our Yuba County vote, apparently, for Wendell.
Turn around there and smile at the camera, Randy. There you go.
What's that crack across the lip?
Oh no. Well, I was very enthusiastic about a lot of his responses. There were a few that need work, but he's there where he's receptive to that, I would think.
And I think you did you did an excellent job, Tammy, on bringing up the Article 1 like you talked about.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, trust me, I get it at home a lot. I'm getting the Constitution by osmosis.
I got to tell you guys something too. Last program, we were talking about the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
There is a show, I saw it the other night on PBS, that explained the 14th Amendment and all how it came about and what it was for. I am ordering the CD so we can. It was amazing.
There's not 14 amendments. There's only 10. I'll bet you ask most people that.
There's only 10 in the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
All right. Well, guess what? It's time for another break here in about 20 seconds.
Oh, man, that's right.
I know. It's the top of the hour break. So I'm going to take us out, but I don't have anything that I have to play when we come back, so we'll get right back into it once we get back. So we will all see you
You want to play something just for fun?
Sure.
Just for fun.
Okay, just for fun when we come back. Just for fun. Yeah. It'll be just for fun. All right, we'll see you all in 5 and 5.
Vote Steve Souza for Yuba County Assessor. You deserve an advocate.
Candidate for Sutter County Sheriff. I've been the target of numerous false allegations and online bullying by supporters of one of my opponent's campaigns. One of these more recent allegations was that I had a home foreclosure. While I sympathize with anyone who has had to go through a home foreclosure, it's just not true. If you see something online, don't repost it, don't retweet it, don't believe it. If any of my...
It looks like I don't know what kind of shuffle in there, but you guys
put Tom in the big boy chair.
Musical chair.
Wow, that was awesome.
Tammy needed a new chair, so I'm back to the windshield chair.
hopefully Chris got that on the live. That is exactly what we deal with in this place all the time.
Well, this chair is like I'm wobbling back and forth. I'm not going to say what kind of chair it is.
Don't drink before you come to the radio station.
Well, I wanted Wendell to have a good chair, so I took the bottom of the stack, bottom of the heap chair.
Well, has anybody gotten a mailer in the last day or two in the mail?
I wished we would have kept the stack because so I brought in my stack that just arrived in my mailbox, and this is only part of it because
this is part of it here.
We divvied them all up so that we'd all have campaign flyers to talk about. Jason's got some in the other room, but literally the stack was like you can measure it in inches.
And that's from like the last 3 weeks, to be honest. That's from the last 3 weeks. But the last 2 to 3 days, wow. Oh my gosh. It's like the candidates forgot people voted by mail.
Yeah, and people are paying a lot of money to get these jobs.
Boy, are they ever. There must be some perks there somewhere, you would think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how much money flies around. I'd really like to know how much of this stuff is being printed local, and how much of it comes from out of town and whatnot. Because when I ran for city council, I made sure we kept it all in the city within the city limits.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what, I mean that's a good way to provide for our people in this area. And I just hope that the candidates are thinking about that a lot of local people are donating a lot of money, and if they can keep it local and give it back to the people in the community, it makes a big, big difference. It really, really does.
Hey, that's
you still got all those signs, right?
No, I gave them away.
Did you?
Yeah.
Darn.
but I can print up new ones. They said I needed a logo change. So, yeah, if we're going to run, we're going to have to print up new signs, which,
Well,
don't know. Just keep informed.
you know, I'm looking through
Be
these
afraid.
through all
Stay
these flyers for political office, and I got to say, politics makes strange bedfellows. Because I see people supporting people that I thought, what?
Yeah, or on the same mailer list
Yeah.
that they paid to be on. And you're going, really?
Personally, I would never want my picture on the same flyer as Dianne Feinstein.
No kidding.
No, thank you.
Who's got that in their hand? Is
Let
that,
me staple my feet to the floor.
is that you, Bill?
The only thing her
Well,
picture
no,
should be on
I
the
have
milk
Chris
carton.
Carlos, and he's with nobody. This is his own with
What I
paid
like
for
is
by his less politics and more service.
what I like is I got one here that says qualifications. I didn't know living in Yuba Sutter, a lifelong Yuba Sutter resident is a qualification.
Well, when you don't have a lot to draw from, you got to go there. You got blank spots to fill in.
Not picking your nose is a qualification.
I mean, okay, well, you know.
Is a nice guy listed on there?
I'm sure it is.
Nice guy. That's probably number one.
No. Lifelong city resident was number one. I don't know. I'm looking at a bunch of them now, but it's amazing to me what some of them find too. Oh, refuse to engage in dirty campaign tactics is another qualification.
Really?
Yeah, that's a qualification. So,
Does bad mouthing somebody and walking out of their meeting when you're invited, is that a bad tactic?
Is that a qualification? Is that one on the list of qualifications?
How about trying to draw a connection between a Tea Party leader and a KKK?
yeah.
Oh, that's got to be
How
a
about drawing
qualification.
that? Trying to falsely draw that connection.
well,
That's politics, man.
You're not politics.
You're not bad mouthing an internet sleuth.
Check it out,
Yeah,
though.
how are you?
We just played that radio ad that I put together for Halkin. It's not endorsed by him, obviously, but the fact is I put it together for him, and you know you don't want to believe what you see on the internet. You don't want to retweet it. You don't want to repost it, but you can believe everything you hear on the radio.
Oh, how about
Well,
this?
of course, the
Didn't you get
FCC would
that
not
off
let
the
us
internet?
lie.
What's that?
Everything on the TV, right? It's believable.
Everything on the TV. Speaking of that,
Yeah.
especially
the news.
A little birdie told me that the Yuba Sutter political spotlight may end up with some sort of Facebook TV show.
No.
Oh, I hear that they're putting a studio together now. Well, we are the Facebook, I mean the Yuba Sutter political spotlight, but we may be putting a studio together to do the news all the time.
Yes, but the fishing room has to be deconstructed in order to construct a.
We're going to turn it into
radio
a chicken egg room.
Chicken egg. So you never know.
Who else has a fishing room in their home? I do. Oh, of course, Randy does.
Randy guided for a while, so of course he has a fishing room in his home.
You only have one?
You should have asked that question.
It's now a 8 by 40 foot Connex box. I can put Walmart into those to shame.
So yes, we may actually be going live to where you can see us all the time. And we may be doing it more than one day a week.
Really?
Watch out!
Because I don't have enough to do.
Watch out for the gubernatorial race because it could get really fun.
Now, I got Burt Manuel's flyer in my hand, and it looks good. You know? I like this flyer. So it shows his family. He talks about himself and what he's going to do and his ideas, and shows him on the old farming tractor.
Kind of like this one?
Looks pretty clean.
Who's that? Who do you
Mike
have?
Ziegenmeyer.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I like.
He's got the family.
Yep, he's got the family on there. I think
Yeah.
he's
Talks
a
about
very
what he's going to
successful
do.
businessman.
We're all putting our plugs in here.
Check it out. Check out what I'm holding up. I got a Brandon Barnes one.
We're talking about supervisor right now.
Jeff Pierce one.
Oh my gosh.
But check out my Brandon Barnes, Jeff. Oh, wait. Look.
Okay, I
Brandon
can
Barnes.
see your Brandon Barnes.
Okay, and you're going to raise it with
I'll
what?
take your Brandon
You know
Barnes. I'll
what?
raise you a Brandon Barnes plan of action.
You're going to have to stand up to show that because Tammy's head is right in the way.
Oh.
But that's okay. She can be in the way. It's got his family there. But check this out. His endorsements. Everybody is in a sheriff uniform.
Brandon Barnes.
Everybody.
That's what I want.
Everybody's in a sheriff uniform.
Everybody in a uniform.
Yeah.
Wasn't that something we talked about?
No. I don't want everybody in a uniform. I just like that he's endorsed by other sheriffs. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I want you to take away from that.
Okay,
A
well, I
lot
wanna
of
know,
other sheriffs.
what are you guys going to do for your superintendent of schools?
That's an easy one.
It is?
Yes.
I'm going with Joe.
Joe Cox.
No, I'm going to...
Joe Cox?
I'm going with Joe
So
Cox.
Joe Cox, Joe Hendricks, you know, it's a blur right now.
I'm going to come over and
So you're into buddy benches.
I'm going to come over and pay your guys as superintendent of
Oh, no.
schools enough to move over to Sutter County, and we're going to elect him.
No, we've got it made there.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. We got the sheriffs. You got the.
Well, we
the
got a good
superintendent.
sheriff.
I think you do too,
Yeah.
actually.
Very happy.
So.
Why do you got Joe
Yes, you do.
Hendricks' thing? You don't have a dog in that fight. Give me that.
You don't have a dog in
I
that
don't
fight.
with Mr. Ziegemeyer either, but I like him.
Oh, that's right. Well, I like Burt Manuel, and I have his Facebook page pulled up on my.
I like Bert.
Oh no, this is just his website. But I really liked what he had to say about all the fiscal issues. He had some really good ideas about how to come up with more money without going to the people with his hand out. He was being very smart about where to go to balance the budget.
Yeah, and we had a candidate talk about going and asking the public if they wanted to donate. Who was that? Do you remember that?
Oh,
That was
I think it was Tang.
that was Chang.
Yeah.
That was Tang.
Yeah.
He actually came up with that idea.
No, I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
Form a
You know,
501(c).
Instead of at the barrel of a gun, you know, you can say to the people, you know, I'd like to do this, and would you like to help?
Mm-hmm.
What about Bert?
That's a novel idea, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Wasn't Bert wanting to look
Don't
at
you
why
want
we
safer
got?
streets?
Wasn't Bert wanting to look into why the doctors were making $500,000 a year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That can hire a lot of line staff.
And one worked by Skype.
Yes. Oh boy.
Well, what I liked is who were you talking to? Wasn't that District 3?
That was District
2.
2.
District 2.
My supervisor.
Yes. Who is he?
His name is Flores.
Oh yes, that's it. Dan Flores.
Yeah.
And he knew that they had 6, but he wasn't aware of 8, so he doesn't know who they're paying over there. They're just handing out $500,000 checks.
Yeah, well, yeah, the extra 2 may have been the $100,000 a year.
Well, I could use an extra $100,000 a year. I mean, you could throw it my way.
Hell, I can bartend and be a psychiatrist for that.
Multitask. But then you might actually earn it.
So maybe the program is to keep all the people. I mean, these guys, these psychiatrists are helping who? Those that are on welfare or what?
Themselves at $500,000 a
Oh
year.
yeah, I know. I mean, but who are they talking to? I mean, is not the personal psychiatrist for the board of supervisors, is it?
It may be.
No, I think they're the mental health where
If we do
Okay.
like homeless
TV
people maybe.
broadcast, they
I
may
don't know.
need it.
Who goes to the mental health facility?
Yeah.
Whoever goes to the mental health facility is who they're helping.
Well, what separates you from getting the $500,000 guy or the $100,000 guy?
Depends on if you bring your own clothes or not.
I mean, I don't know. I hate to make fun of it, but it just seems outrageous to me
It
that they've got
is
six of them.
outrageous.
Oh, well, maybe 8 that they don't really know about that are making that kind of money. I mean, who is signing on to this?
There's 5 of them. I'll give you a clue.
It's outrageous. It's outrageous. It's outrageous.
Well,
That's the
it's only
bottom line.
money. It's only money. We'll make more, and we got to pay taxes, so it's all good.
Well, we're looking forward, and I know the committee, the ad hoc committee, or I don't know if it's ad hoc, but the committee on the homeless is talking against the Church of Glad Tidings, but I'll tell you right now that if you want results, don't stick them back into the system. Send them out there to the church. You'll get results.
Well, you'll get results with some, and then there are some
And
that
there's
just
some that won't, but the church will weed those out.
yes.
And they'll weed them out
I
now.
believe you're right, 100% on that.
And they'll do it for a heck of a lot cheaper than $400,000 a year.
Yeah.
I guarantee that.
Yeah.
Big time.
So we've got the election coming up in 2 days. 2 days. And we're going to be back out here live for 4 hours.
4 hours.
8 to midnight. Tammy's
We're going to have roving reporters. We're going to send Tammy home at 10.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No,
Then the
she's going to
monkeys
have
can
to stick
play.
it out.
Well, check it out. The reason I did that is I'm off for the next month and a half. However long I want to be, I'm off because I just finished up the building of the decade.
That's right.
In Sacramento.
Sacramento Bee.
Yep, in the Sacramento Bee. I finished up the building of the decade.
Yes.
And it's not slander. It's not BS. Go look it up.
You could relate some of the trials and tribulations you went through.
Oh, you did want to go through some of that, but
I'm much better now. The Xanax and all that other pills that they gave me by the handful, laid it right out, and I'm good now. I'm mellow. Woosah.
they started issuing those at the building department now, don't they?
Yes, they do.
With your permit.
You guys would not believe a $60 million building was going to sit empty because I didn't have a stop sign sprayed on the alley concrete.
The word stop. Yeah.
Yep, the word stop. They were going to hold it up. Well, yeah, you know how I am. I'm not one to take something lying down, and I'm not afraid to poke it with a stick. So I went down to the building department, went poking people with sticks all the way up to the public works director, and guess what? My building was occupied.
Yeah, and rightfully so, because all it was a power ploy, wasn't it?
Little Nazi, yeah.
Well, I upset my inspector because I told him that I was going to pour that alleyway on Memorial Day, and he did not like that. He says, "No, you're not." And I said, "Well, yeah, I am. I promise." And we did, and yeah, it was all bad.
But now you have the only alley in Sacramento that's striped.
Yes, I do.
Right.
It's
The only one.
I have the safest alley, only to be duped by the building of the decade in Sacramento. So, yeah.
Two prestigious awards in one day.
Oh, that's too much
Well,
fun.
it had to have a special alley because it's a special feat this building is. So we got to stripe that alley.
Yes. So we striped the alley. We got our CO, certificate of occupancy, and we have people moving in there right now. So I hope they're happy. I hope they enjoy the building. And now I'm going to build the second.
Be sure you stripe the alley next to it.
Oh, don't worry. We're going to stripe
that first.
We're going to stripe the dirt out there right now.
We're going to bedazzle it.
Hey, so I got a question for you.
Yeah.
After dealing with all these public servants, how was your...
They don't know their servants.
He was dealing with the officials.
They believe that they're the official and I'm the servant. Make no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to get in there and really root around with a stick, like poke them in the eye, and get them really stirred up to make them understand that they are the servant. And you got to go pretty high up the ladder to get that. I mean, literally almost all the way to city council and have the city council sit down and read the Constitution and say, that the power is to the people. And we elect you guys. And believe me, elections are coming up. You need to tell your servants that you can fire your at-will employees, that they better approve this building because I'll have it striped in 24 hours. But the fact is we need that occupancy now. And it's amazing to me at how once you get them to understand that their election is on the line, and this is something we can take for this next city race that we got coming up here, that once you make the city council understand that the city manager and the top echelon of the city as is at-will employees and they can fire them, and we elect the city council, it takes on a whole new meaning of that stick that you start poking them with. It gets a pretty sharp point really quickly.
And it's pretty sad that you have to use the stick.
Yeah, it is.
Because they should know that their job is a position of public service.
Exactly.
And
And I have no
You know,
problem making something safe. I have no problem doing that. They're an extra set of eyes, and I enjoy having them there. And, you know, we need to have as safe as building as we can. I understand that. I get that. It isn't about being unsafe. But, come on, really? A striping on the ground. The sign was already in, mind you. We're talking striping on the ground.
The word stop.
The word stop was not on the ground. And they refused to even let me do a temporary stop sign on the ground. They wanted the permanent stop sign. So I had to have my striping guy run out and spray it down at 6 o'clock in the morning and finish it off.
Yeah. It's just a perfect example of what we're facing with so many of the public service sector.
Exactly.
You know, they do not, a lot of them have the mentality that they're your overlord.
Yep.
And that's a crying shame.
They
Now-
get a little bit of a power trip. 'Cause,
Yes.
I mean, I work among them. I've been in public service my entire life, so I see it on a daily basis.
Yes, but it's not everyone, because I went into Yuba County the other day and was treated very politely and was helped very, very nicely. And I thought, man, that is refreshing. But that's how everybody who's
You weren't
you know,
talking to Andy, though.
Which department were you in?
I was in the assessor's office because I was looking to file a lien against a scoundrel that doesn't want to pay money that he owes. So, but anyway, yeah, I had very good cooperation and very good help, and it was definitely refreshing. And that is the way it needs to be. And it's not a power trip thing or an authoritative thing for the public.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you understand, right? It's
Right.
just a once they recognize their role, and they're happy to do it, everything flows a whole lot better.
16-ounce beer.
Oh, yeah, you got to leave a 6-pack.
No, it's just on the Kumar thing. Back when we had the beer Nazi, Darren Gale, you know, my buddy, and then his other little minion. What the heck is his name? It's been so long I forgot. Arnaldo Rodriguez. Yeah, those guys, you know, just couldn't let one man sell a 16-ounce beer. And make no doubt,
He
folks.
let his neighbors sell the 16-ounce beer.
Yeah, that's
but
what
he
I was.
couldn't.
That's what I was going to say. Is make no doubt, it wasn't about the beer.
all
Never
about
was.
power,
It was
wasn't
about
it?
control. And you're not going to do this. Well, guess what? Who's selling a 16-ounce beer now?
Well, that Kumar is.
Kumar's doing it.
No, it's a good analogy because John Missler's got the same point. It's not about so much the water; it's the fact that the supervisors of Yuba County, Randy Fletcher, Andy Vasquez, Mike Lay. No, Mike didn't. There's only two, Andy and Randy.
Randy's toast.
They
believe.
didn't allow. They killed the initiative. I think illegally taking it over. I don't. They got an authorization from some judge in Sacramento, but that doesn't mean diddly squat.
If the authority isn't theirs in the first place, they're
Right.
usurping something that doesn't.
So they
belong
got
to
an
them.
ignorant judge in Sacramento to. It's all about. It's not about the water. It's about the fact that they wouldn't let the people vote on it.
About control.
Yep, control.
And there's always a reason to keep the people from voting on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And
well,
the
what are you
reason
talking
it's a
about that
little,
money?
little golden goose egg sitting over there. They can draw off of whenever they want, and help people get $100,000 to a fire engine
On an election year.
On an election year, exactly.
So we just scratched the surface with John Missler on the water deal.
We'll be talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the election coverage today, and then Tuesday, and then we've got about a month that we can just warm up on water and get it all out there about water. And that's really kind of the plan, I think, right now, is to get everything we can get from the water. We got some other special guests coming up for water, and
More
really get
to
it laid
come.
out there. Yeah,
Lots
Yeah.
more to come.
And because we want the whole truth out there, right?
Yeah.
And the people informed.
And I don't even have a dog in that fight.
No.
But I still want to make sure that Yuba County is informed, because guess what? Again, Andy Vasquez, it does affect me. You can say it doesn't affect me all you want and all day long, but it does. I'm sorry, it does. It affects us all.
Andy doesn't own any of that
You're not sore because he showed you the door, are you?
No, I could care less about that. It freed up my Saturday. I was just trying to help a guy out, man. But, hey, it is what it is. We agree to disagree. I just disagree a little bit more than he does. So, election night, we'll be here for 4 hours, and we've already talked to a lot of the candidates and waiting to hear back from a few more that we're going to have them live. We're going to call their parties, talk to them a little bit, find out what their feelings are, how they're doing, win, lose, or draw. We're going to talk to some of our favorites. And
we might have some roving reporters.
Ooh.
I talked to Larry Mertz about it. He's willing to call in.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be really cool if we could get some citizen reporters out there and do that. That would be really awesome. Be a good time. I believe Chris is going to be here live with us that night. Are you going to be here that night, Chris, still? Or you look so enthused there in the corner.
I'm going to take a picture of him and post it on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
if this is the one case where you do get to put baby in the corner. No, it's just we're on about an 8-second delay.
Yes.
So by the time I can, you guys say something, I come back and hear it like 8 seconds later. So I might laugh after you guys say something.
Oh.
Well, we'll have to get it better, a little bit better set up to where you got some headphones to where the audio is kind of keeping up with what's going on in the room.
hey, now one thing we haven't touched on are these propositions. Proposition 68, 69, 70, 71, and 72. Now, I have looked at some voter guides, and pretty much from what I'm seeing from those these are conservative voter guides. Pretty much what I'm seeing is no on 68 through 70, and yes on 71, and yes on 72. Is that what you're seeing? Or have you looked at it?
I haven't paid any.
So 71 and 70, I haven't voted yet because I'm one of those strange fellows that like to vote on election day.
Go to the poll.
Yeah, and I can't go to the poll because I don't have a polling place. In the middle of Yuba City, I don't have a polling place.
Really? You have to go to the elections office?
Really sucks, yes.
So anyway, they deceive with these measures quite often. You
Yes,
know what
they
I
do.
mean? The way they're written and summarized and stuff like that, that a person would think he's doing the right thing when actually he's going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really be paying attention and doing a little extra reading on that. If you can get some good voter guides, that will help you. That's my thoughts on these initiatives.
Yeah, they come up with snazzy names for their slate mailers that they send out. Like this one's Budget Watchdogs newsletter.
I'm impressed.
And they're saying yes on 69 and yes on 72. So probably the same as what you're reading over there. So yes on 69, they're saying prevents legislature from diverting transportation funds.
I'm reading no on that from the people I've been hearing.
Yeah.
No. It's this is one of those deceptive ones.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's no deception in politics. Come on. It's all out there. You see it on Facebook, believe it, because it's the real thing.
Yes. Facebook's the real deal.
Saw it on the internet.
And if it's on the radio, it has to be true.
Yes.
Well, I think President Lincoln said if it's on the internet, it has to be true.
I think you're right. I think I remember hearing him say that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I believe that. I really, really do.
Wow.
So, beyond that, I want to talk a little bit about the Republicans. I'm a Republican, and I don't know. I just got to throw this out there.
Do it.
Okay, I got a call from a lady this morning. I'm not even going to throw a name out there because I don't want anybody to take a spin on the name. I don't want to. It's not about names. It's about the Republican Central Committee, and it's about one of their people. And here's the deal. She doesn't like the idea of supporting Amanda Hopper. I'm Republican. I don't like the idea of supporting Amanda Hopper. here in the room, I don't think anybody's really keen on the idea of supporting Amanda Hopper. I know where our issues lie, and I think we're all Republican or believe, aligned mostly with Republican. But the fact is she openly said that I don't like Amanda Hopper. I'm not voting for her. I'm going to vote for Chris Carlos. They're going to kick her off the Republican Central Committee for this. They've already taken their secret vote. They're going to kick her off the Republican Central Committee. Really? So either you vote Republican or nothing.
Well, let's talk about voting in the Republican Central Committee of Sutter County, because apparently anymore it's just a good old boys club, or maybe in this case a good old girls club, because you can't vote.
Because they're not elected positions anymore.
They're not elected positions.
Yeah.
So it's appointed by them?
They're self-appointed?
That's right.
At one time they were
know
elected.
better.
Yeah, they were elected.
That's until we got some real hardcore conservatives in there, and then they changed the rules.
Yes.
Right?
Well, if you remember right, I even got put on the Central Committee for a while. And that was after
10 minutes or so.
Yeah, well, and they did.
They tried to do their initial secret vote beforehand
Yes.
because you were even told, now don't take this personal.
But
Don't
it's
take
not
this
going to
personal.
happen. It's nothing personal, but you're not going to get on. Well, I got up and did my Jason thing and gave my spiel, and I spoke from my heart just like I always do, and said what I believed, and guess what? I actually got voted on. It was a jaw dropper for a lot, but I actually got voted on. But it only took me about 10 minutes to figure out that was a mistake anyways, because the fact is they don't want to do anything. They are more anti-do than do. They have a Lincoln Day dinner. Tell me what else they do. Anybody?
Hey, they had a forum.
Bueller, right here. Bueller,
Right here. Amanda Hopper.
She didn't show up to their forum.
Oh, that's right. Why are they,
So she didn't.
why are they endorsing her?
She's Republican.
That is a very good
That's
question.
what you have to do, apparently.
Doesn't
and if you
bother
don't,
to show up for their forum.
I didn't know Republicans are mind-numb robots.
yeah, well, that's apparently, and that's a bad thing because I align with the Republicans. I am true blue Trump all the way. But the whole fact is, man, the more I get deeper into politics, the more I'm going, this Republican thing, where are these guys coming from?
Yeah.
And then they want to point at the Democrats being nuts. Well, I kind of agree with that.
Hello.
Well-
But the whole thing is at least they're a little bit open to some ideas. If it's a bad candidate, it's a bad candidate. Come on.
The Republican Party, they lost me at cash carry.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know what's
Didn't
going on.
lose
with
me.
mine.
I'm still a registered Republican, but as far as going to their conventions and everything and participating actively, I've stepped back somewhat from that.
Well,
Yes, and can you elaborate on that, Tammy? Because
So
we were at the convention and we saw some things take place. Why
Yeah.
don't you elaborate on
So at the
Parties.
time, Tim Donnelly was running for governor. He was his slogan was a patriot, not politician. He was pro-Constitution all the way. This man knew his Constitution. He was all about inalienable rights, God-given rights, the civil government being there to protect those rights. He understood how that was supposed to work. He would have been a true statesman.
Yes.
And he had a huge following. And from what we could see at the convention, because we were there, we saw the numbers of people that were supporting this man. And amongst the general population of the attendees at the convention, it was no question about it. He was the popular vote at that convention. However, you had this cash carry guy who, I don't know where they dug him up out of. I think
It was some banking cartel.
Yeah, he happens to be running
No,
the
I get stuff.
Minnesota
I get stuff from
Fed.
cash and carry.
No, Cash Carey. That was his name.
Cash
was his name.
Kari.
Yes.
Cash Kari. I was thinking cash and carry. I get stuff from there a lot.
He's the head of the Michigan Fed, I believe, right now. I think that's his golden
He
job that
came
he got.
from Goldman Sachs. Was at the time that's where they had pulled him out of Goldman Sachs, and they put him in this position to run for governor and threw all this money at him, and he had an entourage there.
Oh, yes,
and
he did.
at the time, I was
An entourage of about 12-year-old girls and 15-year-old boys, but
Yeah.
that was his entourage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they all must have been paid.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was on the Tea Party caucus, and so we had, memorabilia on us and on our name tags and stuff and buttons and all these things. So you knew I was with the California Tea Party Caucus. And I ended up in an elevator with him and his entourage, and that was
Did you have to
juju.
Did you have to take a shower?
It was very uncomfortable, and it was a lot of floors we had to go through. It was very uncomfortable because they had to go all the way to the penthouse, I'm sure. But what was funny is he got all these young people, I don't know where he got them from, some university nearby, and paid for their weekend there, and you know everything was on his tab. They charged they had parties in his suite not just nightly, daily. It was constant party, and they would go down to the Starbucks and get their snacks and drinks and charge it to the room. And I mean, these young folks just were living the good life for that weekend, and it was so hilarious because we were there the last day of the convention, and everybody's packing up and getting ready to go. Well, one of the little gals that was part of his entourage goes up to the Starbucks counter and tries to get her coffee and he had shut his account down, and it was just hilarious.
She literally
she was like shocked.
She did not know what to do. Paying for it out of her own pocket.
She didn't get an Obama phone.
Look, paying for it out of her own pocket was not an option. She had to leave. But paying for it out of her own pocket, not an option. This wasn't going to happen. But she was really appalled that she couldn't get her latte.
They should have had a buddy bench there.
Yes, they should have.
That would have been perfect.
So, but did I get to that part where at the
No,
at
you
the
haven't talked about that.
assembly, at the General Assembly on the last day, where everybody's in there with Tim Donnelly signs, and it's obvious that the majority of the room is supporting Tim Donnelly, and they do their vote, and guess who gets nominated to have the Republican Party endorsement?
Surprise!
Surprise!
But whenever
Cash and carry.
Cash and carry.
But whenever you have somebody like the Bowtie Munger that has all the proxy votes, it's a one-man show.
Well, they had to be proxy because they weren't in that room.
Exactly, but the whole thing is that's what it comes down to. And I mean, so getting back to it, I want, and the parties were great. I mean, we enjoyed the parties too. Don't say we didn't. I mean, we had a good time at all the parties.
We did.
The parties were great, but that's all it boils down to is one big party. And I mean, nothing really got done that I saw. I mean, we went to a couple meetings and we partied. Then we went to a couple meetings and we partied. And the parties went all night. I actually got to sing with, who was that? The Spasmatics. So we were partying pretty well. But the fact is it was just one big party, and then it came down to whoever had the most proxy votes was going to buy whoever they wanted to run for governor. Yeah. And so it was crap.
Mm-hmm.
But now we find it happening at the very, very local level where they're going to get rid of a person because they are not voting eye to eye with them on Amanda Hopper. And I think that's an issue. I mean, so either if you're Republican, you can't have your own mindset now. Is that what we're looking at?
Evidently, but that's never going to work with me, man.
It isn't. And
no.
And that's the whole thing is it's not going to work for a lot of people. So, and then I've got and you know what? It didn't even come directly to me that I got my butt chewed off. It came through the grapevine that I got my butt chewed off because I backed Brandon Barnes.
Can you stand up and turn around so we can take it?
It's still there. It's not all the way off. There's still plenty of butt there.
It's the perfect amount.
Thank you, honey.
Yes, you're
I
welcome.
wouldn't even say how old you are today.
Somebody who knows.
Oh, man.
You can't win, Tim.
That's okay. She sharpens that stick up at home, and I get poked with it pretty good.
So we saw the same thing happen at the conventions, the national convention with Ron Paul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
They had overwhelming support for Ron Paul, and they dished him and dished him and dished him, and they put what's the guy's name? I can't remember. He made no impact. Romney. Yes.
Romney.
Romney.
Yeah.
Romney's running again.
So,
Well, just
He's
to let
running.
you know,
Idiot stuff.
for the people who have been a little bit discouraged by some of the national GOP and state GOP politics that goes on, we have the Sutter Yuba Constitutional Republicans, and we've talked about reversing the name to Reba Sutter because it's easier to say, but
And we have.
because I went and looked in all the, you've created the Facebooks
yeah.
and the web pages. They're all Sutter Yuba. I thought that was too
But
much
if you
work.
go to yubasuttercr.com or sutteryubacr.com, it still leads you to the same place.
Oh, is that what you
yeah.
did? Okay, because I was trying to get up my meeting announcement and I didn't know which to call it.
I think we can create a Facebook page and merge them.
Okay, but also when you go to, because the Sutter Yuba or Yuba Sutter Constitutional Republicans is a chapter of the state California Impact Republicans.
CIR.
And if you go to the CIR website, who was chartered by the GOP,
right?
So they're a chartered, but they chartered us as the Sutter Yuba Constitutional Republicans, and they have it posted on their website. So I don't know if that makes a difference, but they said it was okay that we could change our name.
Right.
Regardless, whatever we're called, we are about constitutional Republicans.
Yes.
You have that word conservative that gets tossed around. Yes, of course, we are conservative, admittedly, but even maybe more importantly, we're constitutional because our founding documents were of a conservative nature, so
Yes.
that kind of makes us by default.
We had a little code that we all signed on to.
Mm-hmm.
A code of conduct, or what our thought structure was.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to be having our kind of a download from the primary election, and then kind of talk about going forward to the general election. Our next meeting is June 28th, Thursday. We're going to move them to Thursdays. That doesn't really have conflict with any other meetings.
Right.
So Thursday, it'll be the third Thursday. Is that the third?
Third.
No, I think that's the fourth Thursday.
Is it?
Yeah, the fourth Thursday of the month is when they're going to be. And they're going to be at Yuba City Hall in the Sutter Room. I purposely chose a Sutter Room. I like that forum of being at a table. Everybody's seated, has a seat at the table. I don't like the concept of being in the council chambers where you have your board up, where the council seats. I don't like that. That is not a good conversation. Yeah. I don't need to be anybody's royalty. I'm in with the people in the trenches, and we can all sit around the table and we can talk about how we can get constitutionally minded people elected.
That's why I think the jury ought to be sitting in the highest level in the courtroom.
Exactly.
Above the judge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the only way that we're really going to see any change in the Republican Party that's been taken over by whatever you want to call it. I call them semi.
I don't think you're going to see a change.
Semi-communist, is for a grassroots effort at the bottom, and weed and promote and get good people running up the line.
Yeah.
Because they have to be eradicated, So, putting Cash Cowrie in there, that tells you the whole story right there.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you.
And it has. That's the whole issue. It has been, and we really need to. I think we ought to really voice to our Republican Central Committee at what they're doing is wrong. I know it's in their bylaws. That's great. That's in your bylaws that you can kick somebody out because they are voting for a non-Republican person. But really, is that really what we're about now as a Republican? Is we're going to kick you out of our group because we don't see eye to eye? Really?
But yeah,
you just
you
can't
know
be
what?
a free thinker.
It could be.
Go along to get along.
They're doing her a favor, really, because they don't go anywhere. They don't do nothing.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They literally are pointless.
Yes. So there's going to be other organizations like Sutter Yuba Constitutional Republicans, okay? We're going to do far more than they do.
They put you in jail right away.
Right away.
If we're going to do more, they're going to put us in jail because that's wrong. No, I agree with you. I think that there's better groups out there to bide your time with. And what is funny is she's one of the doers there in that group that gets things done. So now what's going to happen? Are they just not going to have their Lincoln Day dinner anymore and do absolutely zero? It ought to be fun to watch.
Well, that's what happens when the doers leave the group. But speaking of that, I had to mention one thing is because, our Sutter Yuba Constitutional Republicans, some former officers resigned from that, and they've hijacked our Facebook page. So Bill had to create a new Facebook page called the Sutter Yuba Constitutional Republicans, because the Sutter Yuba Constitutional Republicans is being run by people who don't have no connection to it anymore whatsoever, and they're continuing to keep it active and post things to it.
But they do have a connection to Curtis Grima.
Yes,
Imagine
they
that.
do. Yes,
Imagine
they
that.
do.
They have a connection to Curtis Grima. You see that coming around a lot, that connection to Curtis Grima, trying to bully and finagle things and get a different point of view on it, connected to that guy. It's really odd that it all comes back to Curtis Grima, the chief of staff for Gallagher right now, that it keeps coming back to that, that big circle comes back to that one guy.
Well, it's been interesting to watch the politics.
Up close and
I
personal.
don't call
Yes.
it interesting.
Yeah.
I have other words for it.
Yes.
You can't say them on the radio.
But I mean, for me, I wasn't that involved maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But the more involved you get, then you're going to get a real education on what's happening in politics.
Well, and
and it is it's a dog eat dog.
Everybody here in this room that we have right now is a doer. And I mean, so we all felt like we had a due diligence to do this show, that we had to get out into our research every week. And it's really given us all a front row seat, including Chris over in the corner, that's doing the live now for us and uploads our stuff to YouTube and everything. He's gotten out and got a front row seat. And it really makes you a different person by getting that front row seat and seeing it up close and personal and doing your research, because it all of a sudden becomes everything that a candidate says you're paying attention to. And it's not that you're picking on the candidate. You're just going, oh, my God, I can't believe they said that. It's not about picking on them. It's not about bullying them on Facebook. It's about keeping the people informed of what they're saying.
Yes.
And, they can call it bullying all day long, but the fact is you don't want to be bullied? Don't say it. All we're doing is repeating what you said, dude.
And don't do it and have public records to prove it.
Exactly.
It's pretty
You don't
simple.
believe everything you see in the public records, do you?
Well, then there's a larger problem, and it lies with the
If the
county recorders.
if the courthouse has fake documents, we got a bigger problem.
Yes.
Whatever. What do you got, Tom?
Well, the bottom line is, if we have our guidebook here, the United States Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta, these kind of documents, and we can and we understand and know them as people in the public, then we just want to hold our public servants up to this and see how they measure up. Now, simply, that's why I asked the questions I asked Wendell today. I want to see how he lined up with this guidebook we got.
Well, you did get a standing ovation that you couldn't see, that was texted into me, that somebody
Yes.
gave you a standing ovation.
Oh.
Yeah, people appreciate you bringing up your points that you do. They really appreciate it, and that's what we're here for. We're here to be a voice for the people.
Yes.
A passionate voice for the people.
And educate them on their rights, their civil rights.
Honey, I love you.
Love you too.
That was pointed towards Tammy, guys. Just so you know, that was all about
Well,
Tammy.
he said, honey,
Yeah.
I love you.
Well,
That's me. I'm honey.
You never know anymore. You just don't know sometimes. So, want to be very, very clear. I like you guys. I love her.
I was going to go there, but I figured I better not.
All right, well, good
We're
enough.
banned from the buddy bench.
Hey, another thing that's worth looking at, and if I don't know, I don't have a link to it, or maybe we can put it on your
Between the
Facebook page,
technology guys in this room, we can do
Yes.
anything you want.
is the speech that was given by Ammon Bundy in Northern California
I
a
threw it up
couple of
on
weeks.
I threw up on several Facebook
Yes.
pages already.
That's beautiful. If the people in the that are hearing our voice want to take a look at that, I've watched it twice already, and I think it's worth watching several times. He talks about a lot of different things that you never heard in the news. Okay, so that for Dennis, he might take a look. He can get a little better educated on
Dennis
what's
who?
really going on.
Dennis who?
Dennis, the guy that's running for third place.
Oh, I forgot about the guy
Sutter
that
County.
really wants to be sheriff. That guy. Got it. Okay. Well, why don't we do that now? We've only got a few minutes left. Why don't we give our rundown for our picks? Not everybody's going to agree on it. I understand that. But I'd like to do that one more time so voters know who we're going to go vote for. And just give them that real quick. I see, Tom, you've got it rolling out there.
Yes, I do.
Can you read off the, like for governor, the top two that we know of, Travis Allen?
So you mean our own picks, our own personal picks?
Well, yeah. Well, what I'd like to do is have him read it off because he's got the voting thing in front of him.
I don't think we have that much time.
I can't read.
And then let's just go around and say who we're voting
Yeah.
for.
I can't read everyone that's running for
No, I just
governor.
want the
There's
top
about
two.
You don't
20.
speak Spanish, do you?
Yeah.
The top two.
Well, the top two in my book would be John Cox or Travis Allen.
Okay.
Well, the top one, because you gotta.
I know, but
one has to be able to.
I'm John Cox.
I'm John Cox.
I know, but the thing is that people need to understand a vote for Travis Allen is a vote for Gavin Newsom.
They throw away their vote.
Yeah.
But okay.
So if you want a Republican governor, vote for John Cox. It's the numbers, people. It's reality. It's just the way it is.
Oh, all those polls are fake.
Yeah, I'm voting
Because
for.
we're on the internet. You
that's
can't
what-
believe everything on the internet.
That's what the
You can't trust a poll.
Travis Allen zombies say.
Well, you can't trust a poll if you didn't run it yourself. That's what the house zombies
but
say.
if your own campaign runs the poll,
It
well,
must
then
be
that's
true.
completely legit right there.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah. So,
anyways,
me, I'm voting for John Cox,
John Cox.
governor. And
John Cox.
John Cox.
Yes, John Cox. all the
Okay.
way.
yes.
What's the next one down there?
So the next one would be lieutenant governor, and man, we
Gosh.
got about 8 of those. And to tell you the truth, I went with Tim Donnelly's pick.
That's what I did.
Yes,
I trust Tim Donnelly.
because he's been down in the cesspool with them. all.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
that's.
who is
so-
Tim Donnelly's pick?
I'm trying to remember.
I don't even remember the guy's name, but I mean seriously, I don't, and I'm ashamed of that. But that's who I went with.
Me neither.
So what do we got locally? Let's go local.
Send me your loose pick real quick. I know somebody who's listening. Send me a loose pick because that's the way I'm voting.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? After this show, that's how you're voting.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so we have for state senator, we have James Nielsen, Michael Worley, and Philip Kim. Just 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go with
Nielsen.
Nielsen. Yeah.
Nielsen, it is.
Yes. And then District 3 for U.S. representative is Kevin Pouet, John Garamendi, yuck,
Charlie Shop.
and Charlie Schaup.
Charlie Chow.
Yep.
So I voted
Schaup
for Charlie.
all the way.
Yeah.
All the way, and maybe
Yeah.
even the Republicans
Charlie
agree on
Shaw.
that one.
He's I think he's a retired Marine. I know he's
Yes.
a Marine.
Yes.
Yes, he's retired.
And I've listened to him several times in person.
Okay, less than 4 minutes.
He
Like
is
the
a
guy.
constitutional person.
Less
Yes.
than 4 minutes.
And then 3rd District member of the State Assembly is James Gallagher and Sonia Airy. I'm voting for James, even though I feel like he's getting a little bit of swamp water on his
Yep.
A little
think the
swamp water.
socks.
Just gonna have to check his socks and maybe rinse him off good.
Maybe
Do the
We're running
pressure
through the
wash.
dry cleaners.
Yeah. Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay, school, nonpartisan school offices. The local is County Superintendent of Schools, Tom Rooser, Joe Hendricks, Val Dillon.
Joe Hendricks is me.
Joe Hendricks.
I'm Joe Hendricks.
Joe Hendricks.
I'm not voting for
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yep.
You don't have a dog in the fight.
No dog in the fight.
Okay, and then we have Nate Black, who's running unopposed. Go Nate.
Go
Rock
Nate.
solid. Nate Black is rock solid. Okay.
Yes.
Donna Johnston, she's running unopposed, and I believe she's been doing a good job as clerk recorder. I don't know anything else about her, but
Well, she's running unopposed.
Yes.
But
okay. Then
there are some stories
District
out there.
Attorney.
Donna.
District Attorney Chris Carlos and Amanda Hopper.
And then the write-in. Don't forget Jennifer Dupre is now
yes,
the write-in.
Yes.
So if you don't like Chris, Jennifer's your person. Jennifer Dupre.
I like Chris. Chris Carlos all the way.
Me
I
too,
like
Chris
Chris.
Carlos.
Yes.
I'm voting for Chris Carlos.
Me too.
If for some reason you don't want to vote for Chris Carlos, don't vote for the train wreck. Just write in Jennifer Dupre and
Or
don't
don't
forget to
vote at
connect
all.
the line.
Yep.
Connect the line
Jennifer
because
doesn't believe in jury
That was
nullification.
that was a very good point, and thank you for bringing that up, Chris, on your Facebook Live yesterday. That you got to connect the line. You can't just write in the name. You have to write in the name, connect the line. All right.
Okay, Sheriff Coroner for Sutter County. That's where we are.
Yep.
This is where my ballot's from. Jeff Pierce, Brandon Barnes, Dennis Houck.
Brandon Barnes. Woo, 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 woo.
Brandon Barnes.
Jeff Pierce.
Jeff Pierce.
Wendell Anderson.
We're split right down the middle at the spotlight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, we're not because there's 5 of us.
I know, but he doesn't have a vote. So,
I guess we don't care about Yuba
Oh,
County
okay, yeah.
either.
County.
That's
so
right.
we're split
So-
right down the middle.
We did go.
I
right
got
up.
Lou's picks up here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
So
Let's hear Lou's pick.
Who's he got for sheriff?
he's got.
We got.
We know
45
he's
seconds.
local. I didn't know his lieutenant governor.
he doesn't have a dog in that fight.
Oh, he doesn't.
He lives in Yuba County.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, we're just out of time.
Yeah.
We've got 4 hours to go over this same stuff on Tuesday, so we're going to hit it hard on Tuesday. We're going to be here for 4 hours. Tune in. We're
But
gonna
it'll
do,
be after the vote, so.
well.
But we're gonna be
Votes will still be coming in, so it'll be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's what we've got. So we be here for 4 hours, 8 to midnight on Tuesday, June 5th. I'm living it
Sometime in
fast.
March.
Have a good weekend, guys. We'll see you Tuesday.
Vote
God
John
bless
Missler.
everybody.
John Missler, yes, and John Cox.